welcome, my wonderful darlings, to Class B. B as in beautiful, like all of you, and like the sixth sphere of the tree of life, Tiferet. Tiferet. I've been told that in Hebrew there isn't really a TH sound, so Tiferet. But I'm no Hebrew expert. I'm, like Dion Fortune said, I know about as much Hebrew as you need to know to get by in this study and practice. And we will continue to get by in this study and practice one day at a time, one sound check at a time. Check, check. It's working. Good. Great. And the God saw the sound was working and he said it was good. So, yep, this is Jay Baldale, and welcome back for Class B. We finished up our current study in Class A yesterday. For those of you who were along for that ride, well, awesome. Thank you for being along for the ride, and thank yourselves, because if you really take that karma yoga to heart and to practice, you will benefit greatly from such. And so today we will get back to understanding our Bible from the powerful and wonderful Manly P. Hall. Just finishing my last little bit of setup right now. I hope it's a wonderful day for you all. It's one of those days where the breaths of spring are upon us. We're feeling it. The sun is shining. The birds are chirping. The temperature is very warm. It's pretty warm. It's one of those times where all of a sudden it jumps up like 25 degrees. You know those days, those spring days, just like in the fall, the opposite end of the coin. We've been talking about that two sides of the coin over here. And so in fall, you get those days where all of a sudden it just jumps down 20 degrees. Mm, that's a yummy drink. The goddess handed me the grail filled with the blood of the saints, and boy, oh boy, does it quench your thirst. All right, you guys. So a little bit of yap today after I say hello to Jack. What's up, Jack? Welcome in. And talk about discipline. Let's talk a little bit about discipline, because if that hasn't already been kind of very evident from what you maybe already have studied and applied from however long you've been on this journey, well, I hope it's starting to become evident. And for anybody who's new to this journey, well, that's why I try to drive some certain things home. And so one of those is the do, just do it, like Nike said. Discipline is very important and very important. It is what separates a professional from, I would say, an amateur, but not even an amateur. I mean, even amateurs a lot of times have at least some level of discipline. It's pretty much what separates like the pros from the nos, no, but not in the way that, like, not in the no way we're trying to be through this practice, but in the no way of like you're just not even doing anything. Think about like athletes, right? They are, even if they're probably not spending their entire day every single day playing like basketball, playing hockey, but they are still practicing just about every single day. It's not like they get to the point where they're in the NBA or the NHL and they say, "Oh, I did it. I don't need to worry. I did it. I don't need to practice anymore." Most of them, especially like the Michael Jordans, the Wayne Gretzky's, just practice non-stop. They are always at the court, at the rink, practicing and helping to boost all of their teammates as well. And for anybody who's ever played those sports, then I don't have to tell you how usually when you practice with like the much better players, it ups your game. And that's what we're trying to do over here is step up our game on the steady. Let's see. Abby 5138 welcome says the demons. What about the demons, Abby? What about them? Are they causing you grief in life? Please elaborate. I am so very curious to know more. So as practitioners of a spiritual path, that is exactly it. You discipline is what's going to separate the best of them from the dabblers and the dabblers from the armchair type of people. And so if you really are very serious about your pursuits of this, and welcome into those of you just coming in, then you are going to want to maintain discipline. So that's why I've talked about in the past, but it's worth repeating, having the different intensities to your practice. Excuse me. Oh, that blood of the saints come kicking back at me. So where at the very least you're praying and hopefully meditating. I mean, if I was going to just strip away every single aspect of my discipline, like if I was just going to quit with like everything but just keep anything, then meditation and then prayer as well would be the things that I would certainly hold on to and continue with. And Negan Walker, welcome, says, how do you know you have the Holy Spirit? And also asks, are there apostles today? Well, Negan Walker, the way you would know the Holy Spirit, let me think of a good way to put this, would be kind of like the same way you know if you have chicken pox or not. You don't really have to ask. You just you're itching, you're needing the bath with the whatever it is in it. I don't know. I haven't had chicken pox since I was a little kid. So, or the way that you know, what else? What else is a good way to put it? I don't know. That's a pretty good way to put it. If I think of a better way, I'll let you know. And to answer your question about are there apostles today, I'm sure there are. But it can be really hard to know who is genuinely of that variety and who is what they would call a charlatan. Or in the modern day term for charlatan, people call them a grifter. And Mike Rodick, welcome in, says, imagine living your life around a bunch of ancient ghost stories. Yeah, Mike, imagine that, huh? Could you imagine that? I don't know. Imagine coming in a stream and saying things and not even really knowing what's going on in the first place. Could you imagine that? And Negan Walker says fruit of the spirit equals love, kindness, patience, self-control. Well said. Very well said. That ties a lot into the book I just finished up called Karma Yoga. You might find it beneficial to go check that out. And those are great things to go back to what I was saying. Discipline. Those are going to be great things to maintain a discipline on, which definitely tie into things like karma yoga, bhakti yoga. Negan Walker says yoga equals demonic possession. Now, who told you that, Negan Walker? Who told you? Where did you get that from? Why don't you? How about this? I invite you to go ahead and go listen to the books I did. Um, Start with Bhakti Yoga, and then there's also a book called Samat Vam, and then there's a book I just barely finished up called Karma Yoga. But at the very least, do Bhakti Yoga, and then let me know if you still think yoga equals demonic possession. And Mike Rodick says, Negan just saying words, LOL. Well, hey, it takes one to know one, huh, Mike Rodick? And Negan Walker says yoga came from Hinduism. The poses are worshiping Hindu gods. Okay, so that sounds exactly like devotion. That doesn't sound like anything demonic. So again, I invite you to go ahead and go check out the book read I did on Bhakti Yoga. And maybe you'll find that you can actually apply the practices of Bhakti Yoga to your pursuits of Christianity or Catholicism if you are a Christian or a Catholic. So, discipline. I said about all I needed to say on discipline. It's the difference in showing up even when you don't want to show up. Think about one of the ways I've found that's really the very best comparison for all of this is going to be one second. Negan Walker says, I'm Christian. Catholics worship Mary and idols. Well, see, that's where the Christian church might have screwed up, was getting rid of the Blessed Mother Mary. You should certainly look into these things a little bit more. You will find, especially, the Virgin Mary to be a very powerful figure and symbol within Christianity. Go ahead, check those things out. Check out Bhakti Yoga, learn a little bit about the Virgin Mary, and then let's talk again. We'll talk a little bit more about it. But welcome to my channel nonetheless, to all of you who are here. So a very good comparison I find for all of this is like the gym, going to the gym. The people at the gym who are in, really, really good shape didn't get that way from just watching reels of people working out or from reading books about how to lift weights. They actually went and did it, and they did it very, very consistently. Maybe not every single day, because it is important to take the rest days, especially for something like that on your body. But even on things like a spiritual practice, if you have certain rituals you engage in, even though I think some of them are very good to stay on the daily, that even if you do it for 5 days of the week, and you give yourself little rest days, and on those rest days you still just focus on things like meditation, contemplation, and prayer, well, you're still maintaining a discipline. And that's going to, just that alone is going to help you so very much. So that's about it for the yap. Now that's about it for the yap. And similar to gym too, how if you actually work out with somebody like that versus just kind of show up and just kind of try to fumble your way through it, if you actually can like befriend someone like that who's like, hey man, we could lift together, or a girl who's like, hey girly, come in, we can lift together, then guess what? You're going to learn some really awesome things, because usually those people are pretty cool. I mean, you do run into a few of the people who have a silly attitude about it, just like you always do in about anything in life. But for the most part, most people are pretty cool. Most people are really willing to help, especially when a lot of those people have seen, they can take a look at you and say, oh, I remember when I was in that place. And even though I'm all the way over here, I can help you get all the way over here too. So that's my yap, and I'm sticking to it. And Mike Rodick asks, do you believe in evolution? Mike, that's a hard question to answer. That's a really hard question to answer. I definitely take a lot of evolution into consideration. However, it's just too hard to say for sure. We don't really have all the pieces to the puzzle yet. And so I take it into consideration. I don't know if I would put all my stock into it, although I also wouldn't just completely throw it out either. Hopefully that answers your question. Okay, so now what's going to really send them packing? Let's pull our card and let's start our music up. So much love to those of you who are new, who haven't been here before. Welcome again. And if you end up enjoying this content, then please hit a like, share, and subscribe. And so I think the goddess is going to want me to pull from the Manly P. Hall deck again. Since we're doing the Manly P. Hall book, I'm sure some of you would also find that to be fun. So let's do it. So Manly P. Hall's Book of Thoth. What do you have for us as we pick back up with our Class B book study? And there really is nothing wrong with, like, if you're somebody who maybe you can't work out, maybe you've got, I don't know, some kind of like injury that if you go and try to hit the gym hard, you're going to make way worse. So in that type of scenario, there's really nothing wrong with say you really love to watch like working out videos, or you just like to go to the gym and maybe like take a light walk on the treadmill to still feel like you're doing something. Well, you are still doing something. And so at the end of the day, I guess, there's really nothing wrong with the majority of people having kind of a more passing interest in this. But I speak because I've already encountered, handfuls of people who it's like they want to do this, they have more than just a passing interest in it, but it's like they just get intimidated. They're intimidated. They don't know where to start. They don't know. They're afraid of screwing up. They're afraid of being the beginner. And I have certainly, I know what that's like even at the gym. I remember back in high school when you go to the gym, we used to have a class where you could go to Gold's Gym. And I remember like feeling like just such a silly doofus. Oh, well, the Eight of Coins wants to say hello again. And we'll just pull this other one too. Two of Wands. So there we go. We got the jumpers today. So just feeling real silly, and that's just kind of a phase you gotta go through and slowly but surely get your way out of. And you will. You most certainly will. So don't be afraid to be a beginner. Be patient with yourself. Um, and sometimes too, if you're somebody who maybe tried to jump ahead, maybe you went in the gym and you decided that you could just already bench 2 plates, squat 2 plates, 3 plates. Well, you probably found out that nope, you kind of gotta work your way up to that. And this spiritual practice stuff can be very much that same way. So 8 coins again that jumped at us, Mercury and a cube. But we'll put a little more focus into this Two of Wands that came along with it. Two wands we see here, and we see pretty sure it's a serpent. Yep, a snake and a triangle is Manly's hieroglyph for this particular card. So this card can be looked at as kind of like a collaboration of wills. Maybe you're starting up a new project, or maybe you've resolved energies with someone in your life, or even yourself to a certain extent. We could look at this, if we look at this on strictly the solo aspect, maybe this is you, the energy of you and the energy of that shadow, which to people who aren't so familiar is going to seem like that, a scary serpent with horns. Or even here we see how the Mercury glyph kind of looks like a little horned Venus, that you are making peace with that. And especially in the energetical sense, in the sense of will, you're going to find that when that happens, things are just going to be a lot better for you in life. This card being, let's see, which one is that one? Oh, it's Aries. It's I can't remember off the top of my head. So we got Hokmah, the Tree of Life, in the highest world of absolutes. And Hokmah can kind of be seen as chaos, but also potential. So there is potential in this card. But sometimes too, we might find that that potential we're going to go for is going to actually be split off. So that could be what this two is also saying right here, that you're going to kind of get split 2 different ways. Hard to say, but with this Eight of Coins here again too, then perhaps it has to do with the material realm for you. The way that your mercurial influence your mind in this material realm, and the way you're going to push that will forward, maybe for the accomplishment of a task. Well, that's what I know. This one, Sun in Virgo. Prudence is the way Crowley looks at it. And prudence, so kind of like patience, kind of like you don't want to, you're waiting for the fruit to be ripe on the tree before you pluck it. And so that's what you got to worry about with this energy right now, is that you got to worry about not jumping the gun. But shoot, that's gonna just depend on you, I guess. That's gonna depend on you and how this hits for you. Maybe it doesn't hit at all. Maybe this is just really a bad reading for you. Maybe it's not at all. Maybe it's a good reading. Either way, well, that's wonderful. I'm glad to have you here. Mars, that's what it is. Mars in Aries. Well, Mars likes Aries. Mars is at home in Aries. But sometimes when you're at home, you can get a little too comfortable, huh? I think it depends, though. That's where I'm not such an astrology expert. I know with signs like my sun sign, Cancer, I know the moon in Cancer, it's at home, but it can get a little too comfortable, that's for sure. But then when you talk about Jupiter in Cancer, now that is one of those exaltations that is going to be very great for any and all involved. So for those of you who are expert astrologers, well, hit me up. I would love to up my game in the astrology department. So that's the reading. That's the reading we've got. We've got the fieriness of the sun. We got the fieriness, or even the kind of wateriness of Mars. And we've got Hawkman, we've got Hod. All right, you guys. Well, that's enough rambling on about the reading for now. Like I said, I can't really read this deck as good as the Thoth deck, but still not bad. Or maybe it is for you. All right. Well, that was quite the intro. And we've also got quite the section today. So we're already looking at, this might be a little bit longer stream, but no big deal. Okay, so we left off on section 4, which is going to start us out with Israel. So let's see what Manly P's got to say about Israel. Probably a bit about that Israel people really misinterpret that, and that it was supposed to mean all the people of the earth, not just one people. But we'll see. We'll see what we've got to say. Take a drink and we'll begin. Dominion, right? Because in the Rider-Waite, that 2 of Wands is where he's got the one wand locked in on the rampart, and he's now got that other wand. So that could be a bit of the way of looking at it too. You've already got your energy locked in on the task you need it to be, and now maybe you've got your next task set towards the way you're going to be getting your material world together, and specifically through the efforts of your mind, or even through the guidance of the psychopomp. All right. Okay, anyway, so section 4, Israel. The word Israel is used in Genesis 50, verse 2, as a synonym for the name of Jacob. This verse reads, "And Joseph commanded his servants, the physicians, to embalm his father, and the physicians embalmed Israel." Huh. Well, okay, very cool. In the Kabbalah, there are 7 keys to the meaning of Israel. Of these, the historical is the least significant. The word literally means God is a warrior. In Genesis 32, is described Jacob's wrestling with the angel. The angel blesses Jacob and says in the 28th verse, "Thy name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel." From this, it is evident that the accepted translation of the word is hopelessly inadequate. The true meaning of Israel is the objectified power of God, the divine power as manifested through the universe, of which the heavens with their stars is the highest visible part. Very interesting. The cosmological key revealed that by Jacob we are to understand the sphere of the fixed stars. There we go, Hawkman right there. And 2, 1, 2, Jacob and Israel. There it is. See these dang books, these dang tarot, boy, this dang universe always speaking to you. The same celestial world which Pythagoras calls the parent of all terrestrial things. In the Greek mythology, the starry heavens are called Argus, god of many eyes. These eyes are the archangels and the celestial hosts, for it is written that the eyes of the Lord run to and fro throughout the whole earth. The word earth in this sense means the world or the universe. Hmm. And then think about that card too, right? In the old, like in the Rider Waite, where it was called the World, but in like the Thoth right here, this Crowley deck, the Universe. Huh. Crazy how when you get these different understandings of things, well, it just makes things make a lot more sense a lot of the time. Jacob or Israel, being the whole of the starry heavens, his immediate progeny are the 12 great constellations which form the zodiacal belt. In the biblical allegory, these are figured as the 12 sons. In the Kabbalistic teachings, the zodiacal signs are the origins of 12 great streams of life which, flowing through all parts of creation, fill the world with their progeny. The stars are the races of heaven, the population of the firmament, and they are ruled by kings greater than any kings of the earth, even the kings of Edom, the lords of the stars. When we think of Israel, therefore, we have not only to consider a people or a tribe or a nation, but of the whole life of nature, the gods of heaven whose shadows are upon the earth. The second key to the mystery of Israel interprets the fable anthropologically in terms of man. The 12 heavenly races in the sky are reflected upon the surface of the earth as the 12 tribes of Israel. The common notion that the 12 tribes of Israel make up the Jewish nation is quite incorrect, as Israel means all life. The tribes of Israel are all living things. Israel is a generic term for humanity as a collective whole, regardless of race or nation. Nice, that's what I said. See, so we got two meanings now. When this collective humanity is signified, man, no, I'm not going to digress into that. Never mind. When this collective humanity is signified by a single term, it may be called Adam, or again Jacob. Both represent humanity. This is the same sense that we use the word man to signify either one man or all men. Sick. Huh. Well, like I'll just put it this way. I saw a post, one of those posts that's all like red pill, like I can only show you the door, you have to walk through, and it was just like a bunch of anti-Semitic nonsense. And so it's like, oh boy. Well, whatever. That's a dragon they got to figure out how to slay. We can only show them the door, they got to walk through, huh? The wanderings in the wilderness. In the opening chapter of Exodus is devoted to an account of the oppression of the Jews in Egypt. Here again, history becomes the instrument of a secret metaphysical tradition. Egypt is not a country in this account, but a condition of consciousness. The story of the wanderings of the 12 tribes is identical in meaning with the account of the prodigal son who took his patrimony and went down to spend it in the flesh pots of Egypt. Natural processes are accomplished by two cosmic motions. Oh, there we go again. Two, there's our two. One of these is termed involution, or the descent of life into form. In this process, units of radiant energy take upon themselves ever more of the material elements until they are hopelessly obscured by the forms with which they have surrounded themselves. This state is typified by the seed, the hard shell, and the living germ within. The second cosmic motion is evolution. This is life releasing itself from form by the process of growth. It requires billions of years for the cosmic plant to grow up. But by the evolutionary process, all things are ultimately released from form and are restored to their divine state. Yeah, that's what the Buddhists and the Hindus say too. But apparently that's demonic. Alright, just pulling this chat back up over here. And then let's continue. The bondage in Egypt represents evolving life at its nadir, its low point. Involution has reduced the spiritual monads or germs to a condition of complete impotency by enmeshing them in material elements. Physically, this corresponds to the period in the evolution of life when nature consisted entirely of monocellular organisms. Gradually, over a vast period of time, evolution released through these cells the entities which we now term plants, animals, and men. The wanderings of the 12 tribes therefore represent the ages of growth and development, the slow and painful courses of evolution. Sick. The third key to this ancient allegory is truly mystical. The human soul, in a state of complete materiality, is in bondage in a land of darkness. Men searching for truth, humanity collectively searching for truth, is well represented by a nation wandering in the wilderness, searching for the promised land. I'll say. The promised land is always happiness, security, and the end of strife. It is the nirvana, the peace which results from accomplishment. The exodus of Israel is in part at least an ancient initiation ritual, depicting vividly the liberation of the human soul from bondage to its animal desires and appetites and those creature comforts most men live for. This perspective enables us to approach the story of Moses with a fuller appreciation of its metaphysical significance. All right, then, let's do it. Moses, nice, page 69, Cancer. The life of Moses is most obscure if considered historically, but the numerous Kabbalistic legends and interpretations reveal clearly the place of Moses in the drama of the ages. The true name of the prophet will probably never be known, for the word Moses is a title, not a name. It is merely a rearrangement of the three Hebrew letters in which form the word Shema, which means the sun. In China, the zodiac is called the Yellow Road, and the sun is called the Emperor of the Yellow Road. Dang, follow the yellow brick road, huh? Moses, in relationship to the 12 signs of the zodiac, has a similar meaning. The story of Moses being found in an ark of bulrushes in the Nile is definitely derived from the story of the Egyptian Osiris and is a key to the meaning of his life. We learn that Moses was an initiate priest of the Egyptian mysteries and had received the rites of Osiris. There is a debate as to whether he was a Jew or an Egyptian. In all probability, he was neither, but had his origin in Asia. In the spiritual drama, Moses plays many parts. Astronomically, the sun. He is the symbol of the light giver and the teacher. In Eastern esoteric tradition, he is the Manu, Lord of the Race. And in all ancient mystery rituals, he appears as the conductor of candidates. In Parsifal, he is the old knight Gurnemans. I don't know, Gurnemans. That's my best guess. In the Grail legends of King Arthur, he is Merlin. He is always the preceptor, the same Chion who was the mentor of Achilles. He is not only the wise man, he is the principle of mind. Mind is the master of bodies, experience ever ready to guide youth. Accumulated knowledge always at the disposal of him who would learn. So there's our Eight of Pentacles showing up again. So there we go. Already our tarot is getting some more light shed on it. Huh? The not only of the wise man, the principle of mind. Sounds a lot like that mercurial type, but also then you get that solar influence too. Well, that card again, like I said, that's the sun in Mercury. So we saw both of those represented in that card. Infant humanity, in its search for truth was never left without leadership. It has recently been stated that Michelangelo placed horns on his statue of Moses by mistake. In reality, they are most significant. They are the horns of Jupiter, Ammon, the same symbol which is later to appear again as the horns on the corners of the Hebrew altar. And Ivan Ferinic, welcome, says, I am Catholic Christian. I do not worship no one but God. I do venerate Mary, saints, and angels. I love that. Awesome. Well, welcome in, Ivan. I hope you enjoy this read where we're trying to further understand our Bible. The horns are those of the celestial ram, Aries, the leader of the flocks of heaven. And the other card was Mars in Aries. So, oh boy. The symbol traces from the fact that during the time of Moses, the vernal equinox took place in the sign of the ram, and the horned sun was the symbol of truth. Ram, the mind light god of the Egyptians. Oh, I think that might be wrong then. The mind light god of the Egyptians is likewise represented as wearing a helmet adorned with the curling horns of the ram. In the racial evolution of man, the patriarchal system was consummated by the age of prophets. Among primitive peoples, the old men of the tribes are consulted as oracles. Great teachers, perfect in wisdom, are, so to speak, the old men of humanity, the wise ones, the patriarchs of the race. As the story develops, it further appears that Moses is regarded as synonymous with the occult sciences themselves and the everlasting order of initiate priests who perpetuated them. All right. To the Egyptians, the Nile was the river of life, the sacred waters which flowed from heaven. And the Hindus say the same thing about the Ganges River, right, or the Ganges River, however it's actually pronounced. That river, they say it pours from the head of Shiva, or that it pours from the lotus feet of Vishnu. These waters later appear in the Christ cycle when the Messiah refers to himself as the living waters which come down from heaven. In the Mosaic cycle, Moses brings the water out of the rocks, a definite reference to the release of spiritual knowledge from literal symbols. It is Moses who led the children of Israel out of Egypt. With them went also Aaron. When Moses desired to go before the Pharaoh, he cried to the Lord, I am slow of speech and of a slow tongue. Exodus chapter 4, verse 10. Therefore the Lord bade him to take with him his brother Aaron. When Moses complains that he is slow of speech, the reference is definitely to the mystery schools. For the secrets of the Spirit cannot easily be communicated to men. For this reason, the Egyptian god Harpocrates, keeper of the mysteries, is depicted with his finger to his lips, commanding silence. Yeah, and that can be a very powerful mudra as well to do while you're meditating. Aaron is therefore the voice of Moses. He is the priesthood, the custodians of the mysteries. It is the priest who must clothe the secrets in fables, that the foolish may learn something. Yeah, and that's one other thing I got to remind myself too, is that there's that whole thing about how the occult or magic or the esoteric protects itself, it hides itself, and so a lot of the way it does that is through how do I want to say it, and it's just through bad teachings. Pharaoh is the power referred to later by Jesus as the prince of this world. He is worldly wisdom, of Bunyan's Pilgrim's Progress. Pharaoh is the personification of temporal pomp and splendor, those diversified objects of selfishness, jealousy, and greed which keep men in bondage to the least parts of themselves. And like, so, shout out again to My Gnosis, because in his stream where he was talking about the files being dropped, that's exactly a lot of what he was touching on, where he said the biggest conspiracy is the one that keeps you from yourself, from your capital S self, from your holy guardian angel and magic, all of that. Thinking that you're taking the red pill by just buying into hatred of groups, or by um I don't know, learning about like the demiurge and the archons are trapping us, and it's like, well, I mean, you're getting a little warmer, but you're not really getting all that warm. You're not getting hot, that's for sure. You're getting warm, warmer than you were, but still, you're mostly, like I said yesterday, you're a lot of these people are just helping you to feel liberated from the oppression and the chains of the church, just to hand you a whole new set of chains. The Lord ordered Moses to go unto Pharaoh, and when Moses asked by what name God should be known to his children, the Lord said unto him, I am that I am, which I've actually heard is more accurately translated into I will be as I will be, from Exodus chapter 3, verse 14. This is one of the most difficult of the biblical secrets, and innumerable interpretations have been given by various sects, but it is plainly the only possible definition of first cause. It reveals the impossibility of bestowing any qualifying or defining terms upon truth or reality. Plato said, God is, and inferred all else that could be said upon that subject as deprecatory. So that's like what Sri Ramana says also, is that he'll have you do that self inquiry, and as soon as you start trying to add anything really more to I, so right here even you see he's going to go on to say I am, right? Anytime I am this or God is this or any of that, anytime you start adding on to that, trying to define more and more, you're really just degrading that thing. Buddha, when questioned about the ultimate truths of existence, affirmed the reality of the real and then remained silent. Socrates taught that to define God was to defile God. This is the true meaning of the I am. Truth is what truth is. Even further definition is error. Thanks, man. When Moses went into the court of the Pharaoh, Aaron went with him. And at the command of the Lord, Aaron cast down his rod before Pharaoh, and it became a serpent. Likewise did the magicians of Egypt, and their rods also became serpents. But the serpents of Aaron swallowed up the little serpents. The magicians of Pharaoh's court, like the scientists of today, represent material knowledge, in itself miraculous and full of wonder, but not in harmony with divine wisdom. The rod of Aaron represents truth. The serpent form of it is the serpent of wisdom. And spiritual truth is swallowed up or devoured all the false truth of the material world. But the Pharaoh, regent of the dark sphere, is not thus easily converted. Like a rich man or a great prince, he clings to his worldly possessions and denies the laws of the universe. As infirmity and misery come to the rich and the powerful, so the plagues descend upon the Pharaoh. But he remains adamant until his own son is stricken. In the same way, in a world filled with misery and sorrow, men think little of spiritual matters until their own personal possessions are endangered. The Pharaoh permits his whole land to be laid bare, and he does not relent. But when his own is afflicted, he cries in terror for mercy. So Moses, wisdom, brought about finally the release of his people. And Pharaoh let the people go. And the Lord, law, led them through the Red Sea and the wilderness. And Moses took the bones of Joseph with him. The Red Sea is a very apt symbol for man's world of desire. After he overcomes his material nature, the escape from Egypt, he must still conquer his emotions. Absolutely. The way of liberation is through the conquest of desire. And wisdom led the people, and the sea opened, and the children of Israel passed through dry shod. Pharaoh, still desiring to destroy evolving humanity, went against the tribes with 600 chariots, but the sea closed upon them and destroyed them all. Strangely enough, the mummy of the Pharaoh of the Exodus is now preserved in the Cairo Museum. He did not drown in the sea, but is believed to have died of the smallpox. Maybe this disease was the Red Sea that engulfed him. Hmm. Today, in civilization, a great economic age is drawing to a close. Pharaoh again sends forth his chariots, and again a Red Sea may swallow him up. A sea of war and social chaos. Selfishness, pride, and greed must always be destroyed by the flame in men themselves, devouring finally by the fire of their own passions. The children of Israel, humanity, go forth on their wandering 40 years in the desert of waiting. This 40 years has the same symbolical significance as the 40 days and 40 nights of the deluge and the 40 days of Jesus fasting in the wilderness. The wilderness is this life where oases of rest and peace are few and hardships many. The search is always for the promised land, Canaan, the place of rest. In the biblical mysticism, days and time periods are of great importance. It is written in the 19th chapter of Exodus that it was in the third month after the children of Israel had gone out of Egypt that they came to the wilderness of Sinai. It was from the top of the mountain that the commandments were given unto Moses. Sick. All right, and now we'll be on to read about the tables of the law, but we have a picture over here. Moses receives the two tables, Exodus chapter 31. And there's the triangle right there. And an upright, and as we know from Hindu teachings that we've done, upright triangle being consciousness, and then a downward triangle being energy or matter. Oh yeah, I forget how in older English an S actually looked kind of like an F. So that where you see right there, it looks like it almost says verfe. It's verse. chapter 31, verse 18. The Lord gave unto Moses, when he had made an end of communing with him upon Mount Sinai, two tables of refinement, of retrimony, maybe is what it says. I don't know, I can't read what that one says. Moses receiving the tables of the law. Cool. All right, let's continue. After I get a drink. Thirsty work. Okay, the tables of the law. The receiving of the Ten Commandments on Mount Sinai is possibly the most dramatic incident in the Old Testament. It is the subject of numerous commentaries and very profound metaphysical speculations. Most of these are entirely unknown to Bible students. Sinai, though pointed out to travelers in the Holy Land as a single peak in the drear desert, is no mountain of earth, but the mountain of the gods, the mysterious hill to the clouded summit of which the wisest of mystics have lifted their eyes. It is the mountain of illumination, the high place of realization. The mountain is symbolical of a state of consciousness, the highest degree of final consciousness to which man can ascend. It is the apex of the triangle of matter, the highest part of the world from the heights of which man's inward perception perceives reality. The practice of metaphysical disciplines brings with it the sense of upliftment. The yogi entering samadhi feels himself lifted far above the world and its attachments. In one interpretation, we learn that the laws that govern the race come from the highest part of the consciousness of the race itself. No actual hands placed the tablets in the hands of Moses, but the ever living truth engraved with letters of living power, the laws of the universe upon the two hemispheres of the brain. In the case of Moses, as the wise man who leads the race, the commandments are part of wisdom itself. So that's why we got that serpent in the triangle on that two of wands too, which Moses brings from the height of his own realization down to the valley where mortals dwell who cannot see the light. At this point, the allegory is a supreme accomplishment in fable weaving. Moses descending the mountain perceives that the children of Israel have fallen into sin and are worshiping a golden calf. They are unworthy to receive the 10 great truths of life. So Moses breaks the sapphire tablets and substitutes for them two rough-hewn blocks of stone. The enlightened may perceive the preciousness of truth, but the multitudes must obey laws of stone. In the Kabbalah, it is written that Moses 3 times ascended Sinai, remaining 40 days and 40 nights upon each occasion. On the first ascent, he was given the tablets which constituted the basis of the Torah. Upon the second ascent, he received the Mishnah, or the unwritten law for the priests. And upon the third ascent, he received the Kabbalah, the soul of the law which was given only to the initiates of the mysteries. It is thus revealed that there are 3 codes of law, one for the foolish, one for the learned, and one for the illumined. The fable continues that the stone upon which the law was given was originally formed of heavenly dew and was set in the divine stone. This stone was broken in half by the breath of God, and the figures of the law were drawn upon the 2 parts in black fire. The stone was a transparent sapphire, and Moses was able to read the letters through the stone. It is this sapphire, the true secret doctrine, that Moses refused to reveal to the people. So see that to my understanding, and I could be wrong, that's why also why there were the certain oral teachings which were the most sacred ones, because the idea that even writing them down was degrading them, was profaning them. So to even put it on a paper or in a tablet or however they would have gone about actually writing this knowledge down was in an act of itself profaning this teaching. So you can see how a lot of them might be rolling in their grave, where you just got all kinds of books out now being published about all different type of ways that people have interpreted and used Kabbalah. But also, like I said too, that's from this Manly might have. It's hard to say for sure, but Manly could have been a little incorrect, because I think most people agree that Kabbalah was a medieval thing, so that would have been centuries after a lot of the biblical stuff. But they still definitely had their types of mysticism, like the Merkabah mysticism, which, as far as I know, would have still provided similar types of teachings and wisdom about the universe, consciousness, all of that. The original tablets did not contain the Ten Commandments that we know, but 10 mysterious words, the names of the 10 parts of the universe. The sacred decade of the Pythagoreans here appears in the metaphysics of the Jews. 10, the perfect number, the basis of the decimal system, the summary of the 9 units and the cipher, the mathematical tool by which every secret of nature can be discovered. And that's what we pulled in the tarot too. 2 plus 8, 10. The stone tablets which Moses had substituted for the divine gem became an object of adoration, and after the building of the tabernacle were enshrined in its holy of holies. Later, they were placed in King Solomon's temple, and finally, like nearly every vestige of truth that appears in this world, the tablets vanished entirely. Hmm. Okay, then. The tabernacle in the wilderness. The tabernacle of the Jews was a temple patterned after the great shrines of the Egyptians. The original form and design of the tabernacle was given by Moses. The children of the 12 tribes supplied the materials and ornamented the tabernacle from the store of their possessions. This movable temple is an appropriate symbol of religion itself. Truth is not given unto any one people or in any one place, but moves about the earth, entrusted to the noblest and wisest of human beings. The general form of the tabernacle is definitely derived from the temples of Karnak and Philae. The Egyptians built in everlasting stone, but nomadic shepherds found the tent more practical than the temple. Josephus, Josephus gives an excellent description not only of the tabernacle itself, but of its priests, its festivals, and its implements. The Kabbalistic rites contribute a wealth of lore and mystical interpretation to every part of the tabernacle and its equipment. The Kabbalists agree that the tabernacle in the wilderness is a symbol or figure of the universe, a microcosm or miniature representation of the vast sidereal order. These same learned rabbis also insist that the tabernacle is man himself, not only his physical body, but his complete metaphysical constitution. As man is a miniature of the whole world, so the tabernacle is an emblem or similitude of the whole world. The ancient Greeks taught that the universe was the proper temple, and that man worshiping his God should contemplate upon the heavens and the earth. The universe is the living temple of the universal spirit, and man's human body is the living temple of his own human spirit. The ancient commentaries declare that the tabernacle of the Lord is in the sun, and that in man the heart corresponds to the sun and is the dwelling place of the Most High. The tabernacle in the wilderness consisted of three parts. First, an outer court consisting of a wall of curtains stretched between wooden uprights. Within this wall was an enclosure, and in the midst of this enclosure the tabernacle itself, a tent-like structure divided into two rooms. The larger or outer room was of the proportion of a double cube, and the proportion of the inner room was a single cube. The outer room was called the holy place, and the smaller inner room the holy of holies. These three parts of the tabernacle were symbolic of the three parts of the universe. The outer courtyard represents the elements, the symbols of material or mundane existence. The holy place, containing the seven branched candlestick, was the sidereal world, the abiding place of the seven planets, the astrosphere. The smaller, inner room corresponds to the sphere of the fixed stars, the heavens or constellational diffusion. The cherub figures woven upon the hangings of this inner room represented the star angels, whose pattern filled with eyes are embroidered upon the curtains of heaven. Paracelsus, the Kabbalist, says that man's spirit comes from the stars, his soul from the planets, his body from the elements. This is the arrangement set forth in the structure of the tabernacle, and is an important key to the interpretation of all sacred places, shrines, and temples. Hmm. These three divisions also represent three states of consciousness. The lowest is ignorance, the second is knowledge, and the third is wisdom or illumination. In the tabernacle rites, these three states of consciousness are represented by classes of human beings: ignorance by the multitudes, knowledge by the priests, and wisdom by the high priests who alone could enter the Holy of Holies. For only perfect wisdom may gaze upon the face of the infinite and live. The three parts of the tabernacle correspond, therefore, to the three revelations made to Moses upon Sinai. The outer court is the Torah, or the written law. The holy place is the Mishnah, or soul of the law. And the Holy of Holies is the Kabbalah, the soul of the whole, the soul of the law. The three parts of the tabernacle appear in nearly all of the ancient mystery ritual systems. They are the 3 degrees of the Blue Lodge in Freemasonry, the 3 degrees of the Egyptian mysteries of Osiris, and the three parts or dramas of the Eleusinian rites. One of the first great initiation temples of the world was the Great Pyramid of Giza. This structure also contains 3 rooms, in order of ascent as follows: the pit or subterranean chamber, the queen's chamber, and the king's chamber. Neophytes seeking the master of the secret house passed through elaborate rituals performed in these chambers and their connecting passageways. The utensils of the tabernacle are also significant. At the gateway to the outer court sat the altar of burnt offerings, to which the unenlightened brought their sacrifices. This altar is symbolical of the literal aspect of the revelation. It is inevitable that ignorance should obey and fulfill the outer semblance of spiritual understanding. Within the court of the tabernacle sat the laver of purification, its sides encrusted with the mirrors of the women of the 12 tribes. Purification is probationship, preparation for acceptance into the rite. Within the holy place of the temple itself sat 3 objects: the table of showbread, the 7 branched candlestick, and the altar of burnt incense. The 12 loaves of the showbread, stacked in 2 heaps of 6 each, represent the 12 departments of life which receive and bear witness to the 12 zodiacal hierarchies themselves. The seven branched candlestick represents the planetary bodies, also the seven Elohim, the 7 days of creation, the seven great laws of life, the seven races, the seven continents, the seven directions of space, and the seven parts of the human soul. The altar of burnt incense, which stands at the entrance of the Holy of Holies, signifies the breath and the sacred courses of the inner body atmosphere, so familiar to students of Raja Yoga. It is also by its location the larynx, the altar of the sacred wood. The incense representing the songs and chantings of the priests. The tables of the showbread are placed, maybe, I don't know if it's show or shoe bread, are placed at the north side of the tabernacle and the seven branched candlestick at the south side. This is because in ancient systems of philosophy, the north was the abode of the karmic gods. And they say north, that's the direction evil comes from, is from the north. The candlestick was placed at the south because in the astronomical procedure, the ancients taught that the planets never moved northward. Certain Hindu schools teach that the five elements are symbolized by parts of the human body as follows: earth, from the feet to the knees; water, from the knees to the waist; fire, from the waist to the throat; air, from the throat to the forehead; and akasha, or ether, to the crown of the head. Right? Shout out Talashu. The tabernacle represents the human body in the same way. The altar of burnt offerings represents the earth, the laver of purification, the water. The candlesticks and the showbread are ascribed to fire, representing the two extremes of the emotional nature. The altar of burnt incense is the air, and the Shekinah, which hovers over the Ark of the Covenant, is the Akasha or ether. Sick. That makes perfect sense. Wow. Beyond the holy place, curtained off from the sight of the profane, was the Holy of Holies. In the midst of this stood the Ark of the Covenant, a box made of wood plated with gold. Upon the top of the ark knelt two cherubs facing each other, the tips of their wings meeting over the center of the ark. The space between the cherubs was termed the mercy seat. The ark was fitted with rings through which rods could be passed, and the sacred chest was lifted onto the shoulders of men to be carried from place to place. Within the ark itself were three sacred objects: the rod of Aaron that budded, the pot of manna the pot of manna that fell in the wilderness, and the tablets of the law. When the migrations of Israel were finished, and the ark finally came to rest in the Holy of Holies of Solomon's temple, the pot of manna and the rod of Aaron had disappeared, and only the tablets of the law remained. The spiritual triad is represented in the three sacred objects contained within the ark. Mana, manna represents spirit or truth or wisdom. It is the food which came down from heaven. For truly it said that man doth not live by bread only, by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of the Lord doth man live. From Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 3. In the New Testament, Christ, the personification of wisdom, is made to say, I am the living bread which come down from heaven. If any man eat of this bread, he shall live forever. From the book of John, chapter 6, verse 51. It should be evident to the most conservative Bible student that the manna is not precipitated dew, as some have suggested, or some transcendent form of bread, but, as the Greeks would have said, it is the food of the inner man who lives not upon the fruits of the earth, but upon the fruits of righteousness. In the 17th chapter of Numbers is described the budding of Aaron's rod. Verse 8 reads, And it came to pass that on the morrow Moses went into the tabernacle of witness, and behold, the rod of Aaron, for the house of Levi was budded. Actually, I think it's Levi. The house of Levi was budded, and brought forth buds, and bloomed blossoms, and yielded almonds. The metaphysician will realize the staff of Aaron to be the spine, and the blossoms upon it the ganglia and plexus and the plexuses that are animated or caused to blossom by the disciplines of regeneration. Probably also like in the meditation I gave you, chakra shooting. Go check that out if you haven't. Go do that one too. In another form of metaphysics, the blossoming of the rod refers to the regeneration of the emotional nature, of which the flower is a peculiar symbol. The same allegory is used by Wagner in the story of Tannhauser. The repentant monk is not forgiven by the Pope, but the staff blossoms to prove divine forgiveness. The manna, the budded staff, and the tablets of the law thus represent the spiritual, emotional, and physical nature of man and the mysteries thereof. The loss of the manna and Aaron's rod reveals that in the end, the metaphysical secrets were lost, and only the body or physical interpretation of the law remained. The cherubs upon the mercy seat represent the four fixed signs of the zodiac, the four elements, and the four lower natures of man: mental, emotional, vital, and physical. The fifth element is in the midst of the other four. So the Shekinah, the mysterious light of splendor, hovers over the cherubs, guarding the mercy seat. In Kabbalah, Shekinah is equivalent to the Virgin Sophia of the Gnosis, and is also the Virgin, the mother of the Messiah. It is written that the mystery of the Shekinah may not be written. So there you go, Negan Walker, if you're still hanging around, there you go. There's a little sauce right now on the Virgin Mary, huh? Of course, it is not a pillar or flame by night, nor a column of smoke by day. This is merely an allegorical statement. Shekinah is the mystery of the presence. It is the contact between the higher and the lower. It is the mother of the mysteries. It is even the great mother of the Ephesians. The Kabbalists insist that in the body of man, the Shekinah is a subtle essence, the medium through which the spirit acts upon the blood. In the macrocosm or the universe, the Shekinah is the mysterious field of energy by means of which solar light acts upon nature. Its location in man is the ventricular orifices of the brain. It is the nimbus about the head of the saint, the aureole of light, the witness of the presence. Sick. As the tabernacle itself was a symbol of universal law, so the robes of the high priest likewise manifested the cosmic plan. The undergarment of the priest was a fine linen robe, identical in meaning with the one piece white robe of the Nazarene. Over this was worn a colored garment that came to the knees, embroidered in various colors, usually with a design of pomegranates. Over this was worn a short jacket, the ephod, not sure how that's pronounced, to which was fastened the breastplate bearing 12 jewels. On the shoulders of the ephod, I feel like it's ephod, but I really don't know. On the shoulders of the ephod were two onyx stones, and these with other jewels upon the robes made altogether 7, in addition to the 12 in the breastplate. Upon his head the high priest wore a bonnet or helmet divided by a strip going from back to front. Upon the visor of this bonnet were the words, Holiness unto the Lord. His robe was hung with 72 pomegranates and golden bells, which represented 72 stars, 6 for each of the zodiacal signs. The robes of the high priest represent the invisible spiritual bodies of man. The auras, the true garments of glory. The white linen garments is the purified physical body. The long colored garment, the vital body. The ephod, the emotional body. The helmet, the mental body. The jewels, the seven senses. And the 12 jewels of the breastplate, the 12 celestial or zodiacal principles which reside in every human soul. The priest therefore represented the manifested glory of the microcosm, the divine man robed with power. It was this high priest whose garments revealed him to be the perfected initiate, a divine man who alone could enter the Holy of Holies and converse with the power that hovered over the mercy seat. In simple words, only the adept can perceive universal realities without the veils which obscure them from the eyes of ordinary mortals. All right. And then I think this is the last section. Yep. And it's pretty short. So we're about through for the day. We'll just be finishing up with the death of Moses. Man, powerful stuff. All right, let's do it. The death of Moses. In the 34th chapter of Deuteronomy is described the death of Moses. In verse 1, it is described how Moses went up unto the mountain of Nebo. The ancient Phoenician god of learning was Nebo. The word itself means height in the sense of the height of wisdom or learning. From the top of Mount Nebo, Moses saw the promised land, but he himself was not permitted to enter therein. So Moses, the servant of the Lord, died there in the land of Moab, according to the word of the Lord. According to the commentaries, the Lord of Israel the Lord of Israel himself buried Moses, and he hid the grave. No man knoweth of his sepulchre unto this day. Moses was not permitted to go into the promised land for the reason that Moses represents the personification of the intellectual people. He is the teacher. But although the mind shall reach the extremities of learning and perceive truth afar off, yet intellect shall never enter truth. This is a truly Oriental teaching. It is Buddhism in the Bible. The promised land represents peace or nirvana. The broad plains over against Jericho and all the land of Judah unto the utmost sea. All this is but a symbol of the reality at the end of questing, the consummation of the search for truth. The intellect cannot, by its very nature, participate in truth, for reality is higher than the mind. That's an important one right there. The intellect cannot, by its very nature, participate in truth, for reality is higher than the mind. The reason may intellectually consider it, but never actually experience it. Illumination is, and that's what I've been saying about why you need to be doing these rituals, because that's the way you're going to experience it, not by just hearing a bunch of people talking about it. Illumination is the ceasing of the self in reality. So Moses, the good man, is taken unto the hill of Nebo, the highest point of wisdom, and there, in the distance, perceives the real. But their mind must die and be hidden in the unknown grave. As Kundry falls dead at the feet of the altar of the Grail in the story of Parsifal. And the people of Israel wept for 30 days, and then the mourning for Moses, and then the mournings for Moses were ended. Cool. All right, that did it. Man, powerful book. even though I'm sure there's people, like I've said, who would be quick to debunk a bunch of it. But we got to keep in mind that, yeah, this was supposed to be an initiated text. So, similar with like the Torah, even if it was like the most watered down, even still there's things in there that can only be truly understood through a certain set of lenses. So nice. All right. Well, section 4 is done. So tomorrow we will pick up with section 5. Oh, and that one's going to be one that the people will want to show up for. Y'all are going to want to be there for section 5 because we're talking about Solomon. Oh, yeah. Everybody loves Solomon. Actually, I don't know. I don't think people really care about Solomon as much as they probably should if they're going to do Solomon's type of magic. But hey, what do I know? What do I know? I don't really know. Maybe they do care about Solomon. Maybe they think Solomon's really dope. So anyway, that's what we'll be on tomorrow's this section 5, which wasn't way too long from me looking ahead, and it's pretty much all about Solomon. And so that should be pretty cool. It should be pretty fun to see what Manly's got to say about that. And One True Goddess, great to see you. And she says, very good. Thank you, Jay. Absolutely. Thank you for your support. And I'm glad you're enjoying it. I'm enjoying it too. This is definitely a really good one. Is it my favorite one I've read? I don't know. I honestly think Light on the Path might be my favorite one I've read. I really encourage you to revisit that one somewhat frequently in life if you enjoy the teachings I've been bringing to this channel, because it is short and it is powerful. They said it all in just a really concise way in that one. But this one is certainly up there. I like this one a lot. Swami V. Swami V is always good. So far, we've been doing pretty good over here, but perhaps we will bust into a flop at some point or another. Maybe you think we already have. Maybe you think it's all been a flop. Well, then I want to see what your idea of dope is. What books are you reading that would be good to read? Let me know. Hit me up. So that's gonna do it for today, though. I appreciate all of you, and especially the newcomers. It was fun chatting with you while it lasted. Um, Mike Rodick. So, see, Mike, maybe not so much ghost stories after all, huh? But I doubt you're still here. Negan Walker, if you're deciding to hang around, then yeah, please go look more into things like the yoga and the Virgin Mary. It was discussed a little bit here, but I think you might took off also, and that is perfectly fine. Abby never told me about the demons that are bothering her. Apparently, she must have been on her last leg, and then they got her. They got her. Well, Abby, I'm sorry to hear that. And Jack, I hope you are having a great day. If it's the Jack I used to work with, then hey man, I miss you. If it's not, then well, it was good to have you here. Much love to you all. I appreciate all of you. Oh yeah, and we can't forget Ivan Faranak. Ivan, I hope you hung around too, and that you found this to be enlightening. So much love, everyone. This has been Jay Baldale. This has been Manly P. Hall's How to Understand Your Bible. Tomorrow, section 5. Oh, and also, I said it in yesterday's stream, but for anybody who maybe wasn't tapped in on Karma Yoga but's been hanging out on this one, our next class A is going to be this book here. So you will want to grab yourself a copy. This is certainly a book you want to have on your shelf. The Hermetica, The Lost Wisdom of the Pharaohs. So be ready for that on Monday. But in the meantime, we've got Class B we're still working on. But that gives you plenty of time. You could have a copy to your house really rather quickly. So in time for Monday. Inexpensive book, and yeah, definitely a book to have on your shelf for sure. If you are somebody who enjoyed the Kabbalion, well, then you're really going to enjoy the Hermetica. All right, you guys, that's it. That's all. Much love, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.